so we are gonna do a dub techno track for beginners. I'm gonna keep this one simple for everybody so you guys can easily understand and follow along. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. First thing I thought we would do is to sort of set the mood here, set the tempo, right? So what I like to do is kind of workshop some tempos, and you can do that with your metronome. So go ahead and hit play in your DAW and turn on your metronome and you can hear, I'm gonna workshop, maybe bounce some ideas around. 116, 118, 119. Dub techno can be anything in between, 115 to like 128 or 9, right? So anywhere in between there, right? Okay, so 119 is where I've chosen. And I'm sort of vibing on it. Kind of give yourself a little warm up, right? So what we're gonna do is break out a synthesizer and start kind of, imagining ourselves getting into the mood here. So now I'm gonna use Pigments for this example. You guys might be using a different synthesizer. You can use Serum, Vital, whatever you got here, but I'm gonna use Pigments, okay? And the first thing we're gonna do is sort of build a basic dub techno stab. So I'm gonna hit pause for a second, and I'm gonna just kind of build the stab from scratch so you guys can see how this is made. Again, it might differ in your synthesizer, but you can follow along with the same elements. So go ahead and just make this a sawtooth. So you're gonna grab a sawtooth waveform, okay? You're gonna leave your filter at 24 low pass, and you're going to turn down the cutoff here and increase the resonance a little bit, all right? So that's gonna be your basic, dub techno stab, right? And you're gonna lower the sustain out of your main envelope. This is the VCA envelope down here. You're gonna take it all the way down and then adjust your decay to around maybe like a second to a second and a half, somewhere around there. And you're gonna have something that sounds a little bit like this, right? Okay, that sounds good to me. And that's how we're gonna start, okay? I'm just gonna have you press play and workshop. Now we're gonna use a minor chord for the dub techno stab here. So go ahead and just kind of, you can play a contrasting chord with that like this. Okay, I like that. Okay, I'm just kind of workshopping and sort of playing with some chords. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record a loop here, all right? And that's gonna be how we're gonna start. I'm working in Ableton Live. Feel free to follow along in any other DAW of your choice. So what we'll do is we'll restart the track here. I'm gonna hit Session View Record, and we're going to record something into our DAW. Check this out. All right, I made a little mistake there, so we can go ahead and correct that. Open up the MIDI clip. I added one little extra note there. Oops, there we go. Go ahead and erase that note right there. And this one. Perfect. All right, great. So now we have our loop, okay? This is good. Now let's make some further adjustments to our actual dub stab. The second thing I like you to do is take a secondary envelope. Now, if you have a secondary envelope like in Vital or something, if you have a secondary envelope here, go ahead and just grab the envelope, and we're going to take this second envelope and we're gonna pull it over to the cutoff and adjust its amount here. So we have that little extra snap on the filter, right? That really helps with the dub techno stab, I think. Yeah. You can adjust its decay here to taste. All right, that's good, that's good. I'm feeling that, right? So now we have our loop, we have our basic waveform, right? You could add an LFO here, but I think we're not even gonna go that far. We're just gonna leave it just like this. Again, adjust the resonance here to taste, and the filter position really does matter. So if you want it a little more darker, you can put the cutoff all the way down, or if you want a little more bright, you can bring it up. That's cool. Okay, we're done. You can save that as a preset. You can save that for later. Maybe this can be your basis of your dub techno stab. Okay, cool. So now that we have that established, we have our MIDI clip here. You can see that I have it set on record quantization, so all of my stabs kind of came in and starting at the right length. Now we're gonna add sort of a rhythm. Now turn on the metronome again. Okay. And you can kind of like imagine like, what would this sound like with a little percussion in there? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that good at percussion, but like I can like imagine, you know, what would we kind of create in that spot, right? So go ahead and grab a drum rack. I don't care what it is. You can have some hi-hats, some shakers. You know, I highly recommend that you kind of build some drum racks from scratch for this kind of application. So I'm gonna grab a glitch percussion rack that I built here, and I'm just gonna sort of, you know, plug in some notes that I feel. All right, grab a pencil tool if you want. You can also pound this out on the keyboard, right? Let's go ahead and see what we got here. Start it off right in the beginning. Almost. There we go. I like this. There we go, right? And I can adjust some of those. If this was a little too loud, maybe I can transpose it a little bit. Sometimes transposing is all you need to do, right? Adjust its volume to velocity. Okay, cool. Excellent, right? So again, your mileage may vary. You can go ahead and experiment with, you know, basically anything. You can experiment with a different style of notes here. I can make this like 1/8 and 1/16. I can make a 1/32 in there. I think I'm missing a note. There we go. Oh yeah. There we go. Excellent. I like that. Okay, cool. Now it's time to add a kick drum, all right? So for our kick drum, I'm gonna go really basic here. Let's go ahead and grab, you know, say a kick rack that you might have, you know, whatever works for you. You need to have some available kick drums on hand. I have done other tutorials where I've taught you how to make kick drums, but you know, just go ahead and grab a kick drum. We're gonna do a simple 4 on the floor. So if you're working inside the grid, go ahead and just right click and we're gonna go quarter notes, okay? And just go ahead and draw in 4 quarter notes here, right on the bottom. We'll start this off right in the beginning. There we go, just like that, okay? 4 on the floor. So again, 4 quarter notes right in a row. You can kind of test out different samples. Kind of like that one. I think that one, yeah, the punchy flat kick. That's what we want today. Excellent. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this through the drum bus, put this one through the drum bus, put this through the synth bus. Now let's talk about effects here because our stab sounds kind of dry, to be honest with you. It needs a little adjustment, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add some delay and reverb. Now my delay here is a dotted 1/8 note dual delay, okay? You may have a delay in your DAW that is somewhat similar. I like to use send effects because everything ties into the send effect and then it all comes together, right? So I have a dotted 1/8 note dual delay here. You could use a dotted 1/8 note single delay. It really doesn't matter. But I think dotted 1/8 notes is great for this style of music. So that's why I use that as my send effect. I'm also gonna use a reverb here, right? The reverb is gonna be my Pro R2 with this Launch a Farewell. You guys may have like the Valhalla Room, Valhalla Vintage Verb. As you can see, this has 23.7 seconds of decay time here. It's a really bright reverb. This is really boosted here on the sides here at the end. You can see that. And it's very wide. The width is all the way up. And of course, this is all the way 100% mix on as a send effect. All right, so I'm gonna add this to the stab here. So let's go back to our stab and you're gonna hear immediately, as soon as I start adding this, we're gonna get that vibe, right? Oh yeah. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Now, for the percussion, you may not wanna add the whole thing, right? You may not wanna add all of those perks to each one of those effects. Now, Ableton's drum rack has a really cool thing where you can actually add send effects inside of the drum rack itself. It's really cool, right? Ableton's drum rack has its own built-in send effect system. So all you have to do is click on this little button right here, click on it to open it up, and you have, as you can see, we have the I/O, you have the input output, we have the send effects and return effects, right? So let's go ahead and create a send effect lane here, or a return effect. And we'll go ahead and grab like that same delay that I was using. So we can even copy it over. I can say copy, right? And we'll go back to our rack here and we'll paste it right in here, right? So now we've created our own little Valhalla delay inside of our drum rack, right? And all we have to do is we can say, all right, well, send A here, which I have, can be only on certain racks, right? So I can say, all right, let's say send A is only gonna go to this one. So as you can see, this percussion right here, this trias glitch percussion, we can solo it, is the only one getting the delay, right? Nice. That's exactly what I want. Yeah. Excellent. Let's find this one. This is there we go. Add some more send to this one. Oh yeah. Very good, very good, excellent. Okay, so you can see that there's really some powerful options here inside of Drum Rack to get some good style glitch percussion. That's really gonna add a lot to your track. I mean, you're gonna have different variations here. Now you can go crazy with send effects. You can put different filtering in there. You can put different distortions, different reverbs inside of your rack. I mean, it's pretty wild, right? So I encourage you guys to definitely experiment with this. Okay, cool. So now we've got our kick drum, we've got our hi-hats, we've got our, stab going on, right? What's left? What's left to build the first part of the track? Well, I think let's put a sequence in here. This is one of the signature styles of ambient dub techno. And to do this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab Pigments, okay? I'm gonna grab Pigments, and what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna use the sequencer for once. We never really used the sequencer on this channel, but I thought it'd be cool to kind of, add a little bit of sequencer knowledge in here, right? So what I want you to do is turn on the sequencer here, right? And open it up. Now, the sequencer has 16 possible steps. However, some of you may know this, some of you might not know this, is that in order to make the steps have different lengths, you have to press the polymetry button right here, right? So if I press this, watch what happens. The sequencer automatically changes to this like flexible system where I can pull each step length from the right, and then I can make it as many steps as I want. Why is this useful? Well, it's useful for a couple different reasons. Number one is you can add tons more probability if you have different variations in the step length, all right? This is a classic trick, right? So like, okay, we do this in stepping a lot actually. So I'm gonna say, all right, let's make this natural minor, and I'm just gonna make like, say, an F here and a G or something like that, right? But I'm playing in G minor here, so your mileage may vary, right? But I'm gonna say, all right, the probability, I can take the probability down to like 7 steps. Now, one of them can be 0, but it's not gonna be the same step every time, right? The velocity can also change, and I can do the same thing. I can say, all right, let's go 7 steps on the velocity, because 7's an odd number, and I can change the velocity, and now it's gonna be different as it cycles around, okay? I can do the same with the octave. Maybe I can make like 3, or actually no, let's make like 5, and 1 is gonna be +1 here, okay? That's cool, right? So now when I press a key, you can hear it's different because it's changing, right? I like that. Right? And that's just a sine wave. I mean, that's just a sine wave. As I change the waveform, right? Let's just leave it on a sine wave for now. That's cool. I like that. Let's add some of our delay here. And our reverb. Oh yeah. It's very nice, very nice, very nice. Right? So you can hear, like, immediately, we're going somewhere with this. Absolutely. And I'm just pressing one key, like I'm just holding down one note, okay? If this was a sawtooth, for example. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You can build it the same way as we built basically our stab. Oh my God, listen to that. Perfect. Add a secondary envelope here. Very nice, add an LFO, okay? We'll go make this free running. and we'll change it to straight only. 4/1, drag that LFO up. Just like that, right? So again, the retrake source is free running, okay? And I made it a 4/1 envelope, which means it's 4 bars long, or LFO rather. And I dragged the LFO all the way up to the cutoff. And now, not only is our little envelope pinging that filter every time, but it's also arching over the course with that LFO. You see? Excellent. You can move the keys around. That's so cool. But as a starting point, this is great. This is great, right? So you guys see the forest through the trees now, right? We built this stab, okay? Very nice stab here. Established, good, solid, doesn't change much. I like it, right? We built this little percussion track, okay? Again, gather some percussion out there. There's tons of free percussion online. You can either use a sample pack, right? Or even some of the stock samples inside of your DAW, right? And then you have a kick drum, simple kick drum. Most DAWs have kick drums. You can find some kick drums. You can watch my tutorial on how to make kick drums, right? And then, of course, a little sequence of Pigments, get you all set up. And this is the pathway, guys. This is really the beginning. So I think we'll do a part 2 and we'll talk about arrangement, things like that. But as a starting point, it's pretty solid. Anyway, if you guys have questions, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. And happy dub techno making. I love doing tutorials like this. If you want more tutorials like this, please be sure to check out my Patreon. The link is down below in the description. I do tutorials like this every single week on Patreon, but I have 5 different tiers, and you know, this is where all the information goes. It flows through the Patreon. And I love hearing from you guys. So in the meantime, take good care. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and I'll see you all in the next